Yes, we're here to talk about HPE and Accenture and what we're doing together, basically. So, as I said, my name is Chip McCullough. I am basically the CTO of Accenture's relationship with HPE, and we've been working closely together on a solution that we call the Application Optimized Private Cloud. It has all the components that have been discussed up here that come from HPE embedded in as a part of it. And it has Accenture services that also kind of overlay it. I call it SAP Untethered because what we're really talking about here is multi-cloud. So I'm going to show you how you can basically take SAP and take it from some of the traditional architectures and structures that you may be using in the way you may be deploying it today, and really untether it and take it across multiple clouds and make SAP exciting. So that's kind of our goal here. So let's just take a look quickly. This may be really interesting to you and maybe a little bit something that you wouldn't really expect, right? But this is some industry data that came out recently, where it's really showing now the prominence of hybrid cloud and private cloud in particular, and how there are many companies that have, there's a number of companies that got very aggressive with public cloud, moved aggressively into public cloud, and now are pulling back some applications actually and saying the public cloud is not the perfect place for everything. And that's what we're here to really talk about, is public cloud has its place, but private cloud is also really, really important. And when you put those things together, you have hybrid cloud, or even better, multi-cloud. And I'll show you a bit about how we enable that multi-cloud. But these facts here may be a little bit interesting to you. So as you can see here, the growth of private cloud, the growth of hosted private cloud, which is one of the offerings that we have, and what it's doing in the market compared also to public cloud. So really interesting stats here. I think for some of the people that are pulling back, the number one thing that is causing them to pull back is security and compliance concerns. We're seeing a lot of that. I'm having a lot of discussions, particularly clients in financial services and some of the high compliance industries, right? There's, the public cloud is great, but it can't meet all the standards and the security needs that are out there. Performance, and I think more importantly, quality of service and consistency of performance is another key factor that kind of causes people to start to think, okay, maybe the public cloud isn't perfect for me, but it has its place, but not in all situations. All right, so what's happening in the environment, right? So certainly S/4HANA is probably one of the big drivers, right? Everybody's trying now to get to S/4HANA, and the big in-memory databases that come with SAP creates really interesting situations from an operational standpoint as to how you operate and manage these really large in-memory databases, et cetera, that are related to SAP. So as a part of our solution, we can take some of that pain away from you, and that's one of our goals here, is to help make SAP, help manage SAP for you and make it easier for you to basically operate and deliver to the business, right? Performance is always a big challenge and always one of the big issues within an SAP deployment. And I'll show you some of the things that we've done to really optimize performance of an SAP application on top of this solution. Cost of ownership, these implementations are usually massive in size, and there's a massive amount of investment being delivered to the SAP application itself around development, managing the environment, upgrading the environment, basically maintaining it, right? So total cost of ownership is a really important factor as a part of the overall solution. And then, innovation around things like analytics and using analytics to understand your SAP platform and your environment and what's happening within it is really important. And then this is really one that's come out more lately, which is people want to now buy private cloud the way they buy public cloud, right? In a consumption model, not big upfront capital and things like that. So there's more interest around doing something creative around consumption models, et cetera. And that's where we're leveraging the GreenLake that SAP or that HPE offers to help create this kind of OpEx capability as a part of our solution. Okay, so this is the key slide in this whole kind of presentation and talk here. So if you walk away understanding this, what I've got on the board here, I think you'll really understand what we have to offer and how it can create this kind of, I'll call it new world SAP environment, right? So what we believe is that SAP should run across private cloud implemented on-prem where necessary, private cloud implemented in a shared kind of hosted model, centralized, right? And then public cloud with integration back to public cloud as a part of that solution. And what we've delivered now with AOPC is we're able to deliver private cloud on-prem deployed into your data centers or into a colo dedicated to you, colo of your choice, right? And we've got the full end-to-end solution to be able to do that deployment. All of the networking, all of the infrastructure services, all of the infrastructure, all the operations comes with that. The key to it is that the deployment that we do on-prem and the deployment that we have in our centralized data center that I'll talk about in a minute, the architecture is exactly the same. So now those things can work in sync and in unison. So you can literally move SAP components and workloads from on-prem to central and back. You can do on-prem production, DR test development in the centrally hosted location. We can put some components into the public cloud also. The other thing that we've done with our centrally hosted solution is we have high bandwidth, low latency interconnects directly to the public cloud providers. So now we can move components and data across that whole spectrum of multi-cloud. And that's where I think you truly get to what I call SAP untethered, is when you get to that point and you're able to truly leverage all the clouds and what they do best. And that was kind of our goal with the solution. On-prem we can deploy basically anywhere in the world. Any colo, any of your data centers. We're able to come in and deploy it. We have a standardized deployment model. We deploy the solution end to end, including all the infrastructure, all the networking, all the SAP components kind of pre-configured in a template, right? Our centrally shared locations, we're right now deploying 4, 2 in North America and 2 in Europe. In North America, in Ashburn, Virginia, and then in Los Angeles, so we'll kind of have the coast covered in North America, right? In Europe, we're deploying into Frankfurt and London, so we'll have kind of up and down the European region covered. More of these hosted central data centers are planned. We're actually looking at already at some in Italy. We have some interest around that. There's also some interest in Canada, so we, I think, could end up, in the future deploying in Canada. But these centrally located data centers provide the keystone and the link between the on-prem and the public cloud, right? So again, we're able to use these as interconnection points to create data bandwidth and data paths between what we're running on-prem versus what you're running in the public cloud. And you can run full SAP solution in our hosted data center also, our centrally located hosted data center. So exact same architecture across all the different locations, right? At the hosted data centers, we have these high bandwidth direct connections into the public cloud providers. Now we've already deployed, our first deployment that we've done is in Ashburn, Virginia. That one's done. We have interconnects already into Google Cloud Platform, and we're building out the interconnects into Azure and AWS, okay? And those interconnects, what they allow you to do is to move data basically between the public cloud and our central location very, very efficiently, and actually at a lower cost, because the egress charges that the public cloud charges you to move data in and out versus the normal route versus our interconnects, our interconnects are substantially lower cost. So there's a huge opportunity in savings just in the movement of data using this kind of mechanism. Now we've standardized our I'll call it our centralized data centers with Equinix. So we're partnering very closely with Equinix, and we're leveraging the network backbone that they have to interconnect all these sites together, right? So literally at a very low cost, we're able to move data between public and private and then out regionally around various locations, so we can connect your various sites, such as your corporate offices, etc., directly into that Equinix backbone. And now you have a very powerful SD-WAN based communication system that allow all your users to access the SAP system, regardless of where it sits, whether it's on-prem, whether it's in our shared data center, whether it's in public cloud. So pretty powerful from that standpoint. I think we spent a lot of time around the network on this solution and kind of structuring this multi-cloud capability. All right? When you get into a layer deeper, right, this is the key to how we've actually, so this is basically an individual deployment of the solution, right? And when you start to look at this, we have 3 major pods that make up that deployment, right? And this is where you start to really get into what I call the secret sauce. So in the middle here, we have what we call our management pod. And this is a very well architecturally structured solution specifically designed for SAP, okay? In the middle, we have our management pod, and in that management pod, we have all of our central networking. Now, the network that we've built out for this solution has been specifically designed and built to handle the types of traffic that you see with SAP, okay? And it's very high, it's a spine leaf network. It has multi-tenancy actually built into it, so it allows us to actually it's how we do facilitate our centrally hosted location and do multiple customers on it, but you can also run multiple business units in it, and it gives you the opportunity to separate business units from a compliance standpoint also. The network is really one of the secret sauces behind this. It's very powerful from that standpoint, right? Also in here is all of our management components. So we have all of our central management components sit within this central management pod. All of our infrastructure services, so the way we handle directory services, the way we handle DNS, all these services are built into this management pod. So they're all kind of centralized around this solution. That's how you deliver quality of service for SAP, right? Is you get these things kind of centralized together and really in a well-architected environment. Now, when you start to move outwards, we have 2 major pods. It's where we actually run the SAP components, right? First is what we call the core private cloud. This is our virtualized layer. This is where we run our application modules. Full VMware environment here, including NSX virtual networking, pre-integrated and pre-built, laid out here with the ability to deploy both SAP application modules as well as vHANA in this side, to do things like development and testing, right? So full VMware environment on this side. On the other side is where I think we really get into what I call the secret sauce of the solution, because this is what we call our enhanced private cloud. This is where we run our bare metal services, right? Bare metal services such as the large scale-up HANA systems using Superdome Flex, large Oracle databases, SQL Server databases, etc. All are able to run over here. The key is that this management pod brings together the virtual and the bare metal into an integrated solution now, right? For SAP specifically. So we're able to take the traffic that's happening over here in the virtual network and route it effectively over here. High bandwidth, high quality of service to our bare metal database services on this side. And it really functions really well. And it gives you 2 things. It gives you that quality of service that you need for SAP, consistent response times, consistent performance, and then it gives you really high security, which is really, really important part of this, right? Because this system in the middle here is governing traffic that's crossing back and forth and basically making sure that everything that's happening is secure. All right, makes sense? Okay. Now we have, so as we looked at this, we had a lot of experience with public cloud. First of all, from an Accenture standpoint, we are one of the leading public cloud actually providers in the market. But we knew in order to do private cloud we had to do automation. Automation was absolutely critical to being able to effectively run private cloud at a cost and kind of reliability with the kind of factors that we needed, right? So we spent a huge amount of time on an automation solution that we call DDI. The interesting part of this is DDI was actually harvested from some work we did with the U.S. Department of Defense. And the work that was done there was about 4 years of work. The work that was done there was to basically, from a compliance standpoint, what I call shift left, the compliance certification of the infrastructure, right? So the way infrastructure works at the Department of Defense is you would deploy infrastructure, and it may take 3-4 weeks to get the infrastructure deployed, right? And then it would go through an audit process, and all that infrastructure had to be audited to be certified as compliant, right? That could take 3 months, literally, just to do the audit, right? And that was just not workable for them from a delivery standpoint, right? So what we did was we took automation routines and we store those automation routines and the instructions actually in a database, and then we lock that database down. And then we run a test deployment using that database of automation, and then we have the audit department certified, right? So now audit then said anything that is deployed through this automation or managed through this automation, any operation routines done through this automation, we've now pre-certified as compliant. And that's the shift left part of this, right? So we shifted the audit process from the back end basically to the front end. And now that enabled the Department of Defense to deploy this infrastructure very, very rapidly compared to what they were doing before. They could go live, run the automation, basically go live with it right away. So that's kind of the history of this, and that takes you back to why we pulled this thing in, because one of the major use cases, I think, of private cloud is in the compliance area, right? So we wanted a solution that was very compliance-centric, but also for SAP, it's about reliability. So having an automation system that can deploy in this manner creates very high reliability, right? Everything's pre-certified. The automation does most of the work. We are able to deploy a full SAP ECC system from scratch, including virtualization, bare metal, S/4HANA, etc., with a single click of a button, basically, through our automation solution. And that completely deploys SAP and makes it ready for testing. And we've literally had our testers come in and test SAP from scratch after running the deployment. So we kind of have a full end-to-end SAP automation solution as a part of the solution that is built and included with the solution. And it's a very interesting, I call this, most of you probably heard of infrastructure as code, right? I call this infrastructure as data, because we're taking those instructions and we're storing them in a database. They kind of become data instructions, right? The other interesting thing is it's all open source, so there's nothing proprietary about it. It's using what we call JCAT, which is Jenkins, Chef, Ansible, and Terraform. It's putting those 4 products together into a framework that works in this manner. So pretty powerful from that standpoint, and low cost from a delivery and management standpoint. All right, so hopefully what you heard is, we Accenture work closely with HPE. We have a very, I think, interesting solution, particularly for those of you who are looking for more of a private-centric or a multi-cloud type solution for SAP, basically what I call untethering SAP, right? That, we can come in and basically help do the management of SAP for you using the automation system that really makes us more cost-effective from that standpoint. And, we have this really powerful automation capability to really deliver SAP, and I think in a high reliable manner. So, and I think that's it. If you'd like to learn more, right next door we have a couple kiosks up. I got a couple other people here. Come on over. We'll show you some deep dive into some of the details and can take you through it. So, but hopefully this was helpful and valuable.